How are you?
I'm great. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Such a pleasure to meet you as well. London, Ontario.
In fact, I'm wearing a London Knights ball cap, which is our hockey team who's produced many a famous hockey player.
Did you bring that intentionally because you knew you were going to be on the CBC today?
Absolutely. I've been wearing it around. I legitimately wear this hat all the time. In fact, I wore this into my first audition for Bros when I stepped into the room with Nick Stoller, Judd Apatow, and Billy Eichner years ago.
Did they have any idea what it was?
No, of course not. But it was personal and private to me. And I feel like Aaron, my character who I play in Bros, would be kind of dude that would support a obscure team that maybe not everybody at the bar would know about.
Your character in Bros is also a hockey player.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Is that
and that had nothing to do with me.
Really?
Yes. And I, by the way, do not play hockey at all.
Well, me neither.
Okay.
I can't even skate.
I've played a hockey player.
You did? Yeah. Can you skate?
Nope. Well, I can, but not as well as a hockey player can.
I can't skate well enough to do anything, to be honest. Tell me about the first time you read the script for Bros. Like, what was on your mind?
It was that moment when you read something and you think, oh, this is a really good part for me. And that often doesn't happen, actually. I think so much of your life as an actor is bringing yourself to the material. There's a lot about Aaron Shepard, my character, that I can relate to, being a gay man and growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, and sort of struggles of masculinity and identity and what that means within the culture and the gay culture kind of post coming out. So there was just a lot in it that made me go, this is a thing. And then, of course, Universal Studios, Judd Apatow, Billy Eichner, Nick Stoller, all those things were just so thrilling and exciting to me. I also never auditioned for a lead in a studio film.
Is that so?
Yeah. Those opportunities hadn't come to me. And so when they made the mandate to cast an openly gay actor as a lead, that was my shot.
One of the things that the movie sort of pokes fun at is how many of these movies about queer love, about gay love, feature two straight actors, to be fair, and it's a fair point, going for Oscars.
Yes.
Yeah, trying to win an Oscar. What changes in terms of the authenticity you feel on set when that's not the case?
I think what's unique about being on a set with a lot of LGBT queer people is they're getting a shot for the first time ever. And that makes a set where there's very little apathy. Everyone's really grateful to be there. Sets sometimes become places where people are exhausted and tired, and everybody was so grateful to be there.
Did that you noticed that?
Absolutely.
What did that feel like?
It just felt like what it feels like to be in a place where everybody knows they're getting their opportunity. They're getting their shot. It's wonderful. It's what art making should be. This idea that, like, I feel like the generation now, we got people like Harry Styles coming along, and we got people like Timothée Chalamet wearing that and sort of
wearing dresses and
exactly.
wearing backless.
And so they have much clearer ideas about, you don't need to be a man to be a sex symbol. And I think my generation was much more concerned with sex symbols look a certain sort of way.
Right.
Yeah.
How does that manifest itself in the character that you play here?
Aaron kind of creates an armor for himself. He portrays a masculine identity. He thinks that that's the way he's going to be attracted. And Bobby is going to be attracted to that. Bobby uses his intelligence as his kind of armor, and I think Aaron uses his muscles as his kind of armor. And the movie is really about both of us sort of taking our armor off and falling in love with each other.
Can we talk a little bit about, you mentioned going to Juilliard,
Mm-hmm.
so you leave London. Do you have this feeling when you go to New York to audition that, oh my God, there's this other life out there?
Absolutely. That was a big thing too. At that age, I was, figuring out that I was gay.
Oh, okay.
And that there was this idea that it'd probably be easier to be gay in this city than it would be from where I came from.
In London, yeah. From what I understand from reading about you, it's also a transformative time for you personally.
Yeah.
How so?
Juilliard was really easy for me in some ways in that I didn't have a lot of expectations about what it meant to be an actor. So I was very receptive to this idea of being broken down so they can build you back up. They work on your voice and your body. And I had an amazing group of friends. It was the sort of first professional cohort of artists that I really ever had in my life.
So how quickly after that do you get cast in Brothers and Sisters after Juilliard?
It was quite a while. Upon graduation, I did a lot of theater in New York City, off-Broadway, some amazing playwrights, Christopher Shin and Keith Bunin, Wendy MacLeod, who have all also been screenwriters now. Then I did a Stephen Bochco series for FX, which lasted one season, where I played a soldier in Iraq. And then Brothers and Sisters came along, and that brought me to LA.
How does that change your life?
You know, it was a great experience in the sense that I was cast as a sort of guest star, and then I became a series regular. But it was learning about being on a set, learning about being around celebrities, learning about the machine of television, and working with great writers and actors.
It was while you were doing Brothers and Sisters
Yeah.
that you come out publicly.
Yes.
Did being cast in that role influence the decision?
I'd never been interested or involved in press, and then it was the first time people started talking to me, and it just seemed like I have to also say I'm gay at that time. You
Yeah.
can't skirt around the question. You can't play an openly gay guy who's getting married in a time when gay marriage was still illegal. I had to say I was gay, and that was very significant to a lot of people that were watching the show. I felt like you had to say something because the truth is, yeah, it's a really scary place for people.
And there was a cost to it.
Maybe. I don't know.
But there was a cost to it for you. I mean, didn't the gigs not happen in the same way you were hoping for?
It's always hard to know. You know, you'll never know the career that, didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I had to do it. There was no other choice. There was no other choice than to say you're gay. But it was, I was advised against it. Yeah. And this was a time before we had some incredible pioneers like, Neil Patrick Harris hadn't come out. The amazing Matt Bomer hadn't come out. So there was, Anderson Cooper hadn't come out yet.
I'll stop for a second and just say how grateful I am that you're sharing that with me. I appreciate that. I know that some gigs don't come. Like the opportunities that start coming your way change.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's sort of how. And I mean this with utmost respect. And I don't have any snark here.
Yeah.
Because I'm a folk musician who plays house concerts. So how can I judge anybody? But that's when the Hallmark movies start coming into your life. And you start, I think, 13.
Yes, 13. Yeah.
But they're meaningful to you.
Yes, they're work, and work is dignity. I mean, anybody who works, no matter what it is, work is the way we build ourselves. And I love to work, and I studied this craft, and I love doing it. And everybody takes them really, really seriously. And Hallmark was great to me. I mean, there was a couple other things for sure before Hallmark. There was some work here in Canada that I'm really proud of. The Killjoys, which I did for a long time for the Space Channel here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something I've always wanted to know about the Hallmark thing. So, what is... I talk to people who are like in sitcoms, and they'll say like, "Oh, a certain like." I was talking to someone who's in The Big Bang Theory, and they were like, "I kind of know who if I'm at the airport and I'm at the gate, I kind of know who at the gate's going to come over. Who's coming over for the What's Hallmark fame?
That
like?
is a great question. Who is Hallmark fame? I mean, look, there's women that are 60s and 70s that love it, but then there's always in fact, a 22-year-old kid here said to me, he watches Hallmark with his dad. There's a kind of campy audience that really enjoys the fun of it. So, there's gay guys around my age that really find it super funny. So it really does cover it. I mean, they have built a brand that is successful for the fact that they're appealing to lots of different people.
And it gives people a lot of comfort in sad moments of their life. I know people who, when they go through breakups, they watch Hallmark
Sure,
movies.
Absolutely. It's not the way I deal with breakups by watching people getting together, but God bless you.
You're right. I understand. Does being a love interest in Hallmark movies for so long prepare you to be a love interest in Bros?
Work prepares you for other work, for sure.
You're pretty practical, aren't you?
I am a pretty practical dude. I'm a woodworker. That's my other hobby. I'm a practical guy. That's. I've never heard it said quite as distinctly, but yeah, I like that. I am a practical dude. Yeah, it does. I mean, Hallmark movies are shot like famously quickly. You are kind of tweaking the script as you go along, and that is not unlike a Judd Apatow movie. More money and more time, but you're tweaking the script as you go along. You're discovering, you're figuring out what that chemistry is. That is the exact same thing about a Hallmark film. There's actually a lot of similarity.
Bros makes fun of Hallmark movies.
Nope.
The movie you're in.
Hallmark.
You're right.
Big difference.
No one's getting sued.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. You're keeping me from being sued.
Yes.
it gives a hard time to Hallmark style
Yes.
movies.
Yes.
And I said, well, they must have known you were in it
Yes.
when they decided to write that in, but they said they didn't.
They did not. No, Billy for sure appreciates the movies. He's watched them. But no, I had no idea. They had no idea I was going to be the dude in it. But I think in a lot of ways, the Hall heart leading man represents something that is this kind of presentation of masculinity. In Hallmark movies that Luke Macfarlane has played in, I've been, firemen and farmers. And I think Aaron, my character in Bros, is in a way sort of trying to build his masculinity around a Hallmark character.
Is it weird for you that they're giving a hard time to those kind of movies when you're shooting it?
No, not really. I mean, it's funny, and I totally understand it, and I think it's actually done with a lot of love.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Hallmark is a big part of our culture, and when Billy Eichner is sort of making fun of your or making light or doing jokes at your expense, it means you are part of the culture because that guy has always had his finger on the pulse of what people are interested in.
I think the story you told me today is really interesting in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of risk involved, the risk of leaving your hometown, the risk of going to Juilliard, risk of auditioning to one of the greatest theater schools in the world. Mm-hmm. I don't need to go on. I mean, the risk of coming out publicly when it comes to brother and sister, how that would affect the roles that you got, the risks of taking on some roles that some people would look down on. When you look back at all that, what are you most proud of? Because that's not an easy story you told me today.
Gosh, it's lovely. I mean, I'm also a 6'2" white guy that has a good body and a handsome face. They tell me.
Are you doing this for radio right now? 'Cause that's good. That's good. It's good that's called theater of the mind for the radio. That's really good.
That's
I say that all the time too.
Oh, I'm talking about you.
No, yeah. No, go on. I know what you mean.
I'm talking about myself, and I'm talking about the incredible privilege that I've had.
Sure.
My dad was a doctor.
Yeah.
My mom was a nurse. I was loved. They were married. I have family, so it's not that risky. It's not that risky if you don't have that far to fall because you got some amazing people around you.
It feels like it sometimes when you tell me the story. It feels like some of those moments might have been a bit that we can look back on them now, but in the moment they may have been a little bit more scary than maybe they seem right now.
Maybe. I did okay.
You certainly did. Last night, when they introduced the cast, there was, a lot of applause. I'm going to embarrass you here. So there was a lot of applause for Billy, and there was a lot of applause for Judd. There's a lot of applause for But man, oh man, when they said your name, that ovation that came from that crowd, the pride I felt in every single person in there.
Well, I think they did say Canada's own Luke Macfarlane, and that I think that helped the extra little applause that I got there.
Take me into that moment on stage when that happened. How did that feel?
It's great to be Canadian. I'm so proud to be Canadian. Going to Juilliard, my career moving to Los Angeles, I was always the Canadian guy, and it's a really great patch to wear. I'm super proud of it.
Well, back to what I was saying earlier, all that risk kind of paid off here, didn't it?
I think so, and I hope to take more risks and see what the next thing is.
Well, I've been looking forward to having you on the show for so long. We're delighted to have you. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
And it's a really hilarious movie, and I really love watching it.
I love you. You are such a doll. It is so nice to actually sit down face to face. I've listened to your voice so much. So
in your truck.
You. In my truck.
And you're going to help me buy a Ford
Yes, I'm going
Ranger.
to convince you that to own a truck in Toronto is a cool thing. It's fine. You'll be fine.
This is what I wanted. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.